Welcome in. It is day 264, and you're speaking to the Meeples Champion. And today we're going to be going over a game that, again, this was all part of, really this entire week was based off of last weekend's gameplay weekend. And this particular game was one that I had never had any interest in playing it. However, one of my friends brought his son with him, and this was his kid's, I wouldn't say favorite game, but it was clearly one he wanted to play that day. So we ended up giving it 3 gameplays. 2 at 3-player, 1 at 5-player. And it was a fun game. Not my normal style, but I had a fun time playing it. The game is called 5-Minute Dungeon. Now, the concept of the game is that you've got different characters. You each can pick one character, and then you can flip to see which side of the board you want from them. Each side just comes with, its own imagery and whatever, but it also comes with its own ability. And then you get a specialized deck to them. Now, in the game, you're going to be fighting a deck of monsters. Well, monsters, people, obstacles, mini-bosses. You're going to be having this all shuffled up, and it'll be basically like, all right, first level, we're getting 20 cards. You get these 20. You also get these additional cards that is based on number of players playing. You get 2 per player. You mix them up, you put them down, and then you start this app that'll start a 5-minute clock. You flip the first card, and now you all have to try to communicate as best as you can. With your draw of 4 cards, you play cards, and you have to get all the things required to defeat the monster. When you do, you put your cards into your discard face up, the monster goes to his discard, and now you flip the next card. You're in constant communication, but you're up against the clock. You have to keep playing. Every time you play a card, you can draw a card from your discard. Each player is going to have a different ability, is going to have different specialized cards in their deck, and then is also going to have one of the 5 colors to defeat the monsters is going to be a little bit more in their deck. So with more players, you start getting more of particular colors. In our 3-player games, we kept running into an issue of having not enough yellow for shields because nobody was playing the yellow character. So when we got to the 5-player game, we were just doing so much better because now they were covered better. So you have to keep playing these, go until you beat all of these monsters, these people, these obstacles. Occasionally one flips that says discard your whole hand. Now, what's an issue is, if you get to a point where your entire deck has been discarded, you don't get to put it back, shuffle it, and get more. Your deck goes to the side, you're done. Unless somebody plays a card that specifically says draw cards from your discard, or flip your cards back into your deck, which I do think somebody has like a card that does that. Unless you run into that, you're out. So you all have to put your stuff to the side, and what's tough is, somebody might sit there and go, oh, I've got the card to add somebody's discard back to their pile. However, I'm going to hold out because we're only like 10, 15 cards in our discard right now. And then while you're trying to hold that card, it means you have one of your 4 card slots are filled. So you're not going to be easily getting through your cards as fast. And then if somebody does flip over a card from the boss's pile, and it turns out that it's going to be a discard your hand, now you've wasted the card. So you're trying to beat all these. When you get through everything, you get to the boss itself, and the boss is much bigger, a lot more stuff to beat it. Everybody's playing cards to beat it. If you're able to beat him in 5 minutes, then you're going to take all your cards back. Everybody's going to reshuffle their decks. You're going to take all the cards from the boss, separate them out. Now you're going to flip the new boss in, who's worth 25 cards. Do the exact same setup. The only difference is, it's still 5 minutes. You've got 5 more cards in the boss's deck, and the next boss to beat's a little stronger. Then you have a 30, then you have a 35, and finally you have a 40. So it's potentially up to a 25-minute game with your setups and prep between rounds, 30 minutes if you're able to beat the game. Now, we played this twice as 3-player and only were able to get to the 3rd boss and couldn't beat him. Then once as 5-player, and we actually beat the entire game. So the more players you play with, the easier this gets. Adding in 2 extra cards per player doesn't offset the fact that you're getting an entire new deck of cards and another player's reactionary time. So it really helps out. That being said, why don't we jump in, let's judge this on our 7 categories and see where it lands for us today. When it comes to the art, the box is beautiful, and I actually really like the design setup. I think that's really interesting. It's just different. I don't think it does anything necessarily special. I don't think that this has any significance from what I can tell, but it makes the game stand out a little bit more on top of a beautiful art for the box. And then all of the internal art is absolutely fantastic. Whether you see this box for its shape, for its art, when you see it in a game store, it's going to grab your eye. And when you're at a convention, you see it set up, it's going to definitely grab your eye. Never mind the gameplay, which is so interactive. I'm not a big co-op person, but this game on all levels really grabs you. Thumbs up. When it comes to those components, everything's cards. Yes, your bosses are some cardboard, and your player is cardboard. But that's just your cardboard, basically base mats for where your decks are staying on for all of you and for your monster or your boss. But outside of that, everything's cards, and it's all top quality. Thumbs up. Your price. This one's out there. You're going to find this minimum at 3 out of 5 board game stores. You're going to probably not find it in a Target, but I think you could find this in a Barnes & Noble. It's online, and you're probably looking at $30 would be the minimum I'd be looking at for this. It's probably more a $40 game. Beyond $40 would shock me. I don't think there's enough here for this to really be that much more, but I think that's a great price range for this. Even if it was a little bit more, I think there's such a unique game in here, especially for a non-co-op person who found this to be very, very good for grabbing you, pulling you in. I gotta give it a big prop on the money. Price is a thumbs up. Your difficulty. So it's all up to how many people you want to play. If you're looking for this to be for a kid or for a beginner, I think that this game is fun at 2 or 3, but I think it's better at 5. If you're talking about bringing it out for an expert or experienced players, less and less. If you're an experienced player, play it at 3, play it at 2. I think that this game gets harder with fewer people, and that's where an expert and experienced players can basically start going like, oh, well, this is great. I can add to my collection for my family night so my kids can play. But then when I have just like one friend come over, or if I want to play a solo play, I can try and see if I can take this on. I don't know if this actually allows for solo play. No, it's only 2-player to 5. So, but 2-player, you and a friend can really see how far you can get in a difficult playthrough. And I think it keeps you going so quick because it's 5 minutes that you're not going to have a time to truly judge the game while playing. You're going to just enjoy it. Thumbs up. Replayability. I played it 3 times in one day. I think it's a game that's going to get you to play it. You're going to lose and be like, shoot, we almost had it. Let's try again. Here's an idea. Why don't you hold off on these cards for a little bit? Let's switch the players. We were doing really well, but I think the blue would be better than the yellow. Let's grab the blue. They come with wilds. And you're strategizing. So it's interesting to play it and then to lose and then to try to jump back in. And I think that's where replayability dominates for this game. Thumbs up. Keys to victory. So obviously the key to victory is defeating all the monsters and the people and the obstacles and getting to the big boss and getting through all the bosses. How do you do that? It's about being strategic with your cards. Trying to be fast thinking, because you don't want to waste your timer, but also not just throwing cards away. Realizing if you've got an insta-kill for an obstacle, for a person, for a monster, use it. If you've got somebody who has, say, the magic bomb, which allows a hit to each element, hold out. Try to at least get to 3 elements being on a card before you throw that in there. There are a lot of cards that are powerful, but if you waste them, it's going to really be unfortunate. If you're holding out because you want to have a big run, I had a game, I didn't even mean to hold out. I just drew a bunch of monster kills. I couldn't use them because we had already beaten all the monsters and I didn't know it. So the rest of the deck, I'm sitting there like, oh, I won't waste these because I want to be able to insta-kill monsters for everybody. I basically eliminated myself from able to compete. And I didn't get to compete again until we got to the final boss, at which point I was like, well, I can't use this on him. And I finally just discarded the hand and drew new cards. So you got to be able to try to keep track in your head, like, roughly where are we with the monsters? Where are we with the obstacles? Okay, should I use this or not? Do I need to just discard it? Is it going to be wasting my time? I think that there is so many keys, and you got to really be able to pay attention, and there's luck factors to what was drawn, but you have opportunity there, so just pay attention, and you'll see them. Thumbs up. Is the game unique? I haven't seen another game that combines the multiple player decks, the different cards for defeating different types of monsters and people and obstacles, the timer, the boss, and then doing multi-levels. I'm sure that there are pieces of each of these that I've seen elsewhere, but to combine these together, this one felt very unique, and I honestly never played a co-op this many times in a day together and had that much fun and actually thought, should I add it to my collection? It is one I've put on my radar. Not necessarily because I think I will play it a boatload, but because I think my wife and her family, I think my family, and I think when my daughter's ready to start playing games in a couple years, this is a game that everybody can enjoy. And I already know friends of mine enjoy it. So it could hit for all the levels. I never see that. And that is because of the combination of all these things that I've just never seen combined before. Thumbs up. Overall, what do I think? It's not one I would say just buy, because this is about what do you like with certain types of cards, types of gameplay. So I think this is one you need to go test try first. I also don't think this is one that you have to say, a friend owns it, so I don't need it. I do think this is one that multiple people in a group can own, because it plays so different at different levels of number of players. So allow a few people in a group to own it. It might play great when you all get together at 5, but you might have 2 of you together and you want to have a good struggle. And you also can play this with other people outside your game group. So for me, this is not one that you insta buy, but it's one that you can definitely have multiple people in the same group own. And I definitely would say get out there, test try it, see if you like it. Because if you do, it's one I really recommend you getting. Well, it has been day 264, and we've been speaking about the game 5 Minute Dungeon. And you've been speaking to the Meeples Champion. Like, share, subscribe, and check down below in the description. I'll be adding an Amazon link in case you want to get this game for your collection. Until next time, I'll talk to you tomorrow.